Hey guys, welcome back to True Crime with Shannon, where I cover missing persons, unsolved cases, crime news, and more. Well, again, it's beautiful summer wells on the screen. Want to go through a bit on this video, being that, again, June 15th, 2023 is 2 years since this little girl's disappearance. Today, TBI released an age-progressed photo of Summer Wells, what she might look like 2 years later. And we're also hearing that we may, in the near future, get some updates, potentially a press conference in the near future. That's about as much as we've heard out of Hawkins County. So let me just go through this a bit here, and I'll show you guys the photo in case you have not seen it. Again, this is local affiliate News Channel 11, WJHL. Exceptionally done work here on the Summer Wells case. Ansley Daniel was a co-writer on this, and looks like Murray Lee as well. Ansley Daniel has done extensive investigative work and coverage on Summer Wells case. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation has released a forensic photo of what missing Hawkins County child Summer Wells may look like 2 years after her disappearance. In a tweet from the TBI, investigators said no new details have come to light in the search for Summer, and her Amber Alert remains active. The TBI described her disappearance as, quote, one of the most exhaustive and involved missing child cases, unquote, the agency has ever investigated. Artists with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC, created a photo of what Summer Wells is expected to look like as of June 14th, 2023. February 4th, 2023 marked her 7th birthday. Summer Wells was 5 years old when she was first reported missing. We won't stop searching for Summer until we have answers, the TBI stated. And so there is the age-progressed photo on the right. And this would be one of the last photos of Summer. Remember, her hair was cut short, according to her parents. And it looks like News Channel 11 spoke with Lemony Kong-Sofer, the director of case management for the NCMEC, who said the creation of a photo like Summer is a process that requires multiple references. We try to collect as much as possible of what's called reference photos, and although ideally these are photos of the parents at the time or at the age that the child is missing currently, really any family photos, any siblings photos, any parent photos at whatever age is very helpful, she said. Several programs are used to create the images, but she said it's not an exact science and more of an estimation. According to Kong-Sofer, it's a process that usually takes about 8 hours to complete. Anecdotally, we have some successes and responses about how similar the features are and how similar the now recovered either child or young adult bears resemblance to the age progressed photos. I know that we've had some successes again, and anecdotally, even when they were infants, and it sparked some sort of recognition. No one has been charged in Summer's disappearance to date. Anyone with tips or information is asked to call 1-800-TBI-FIND. Again, that's 1-800-TBI-FIND. The TBI asked that speculation from unofficial sources not be shared with investigators and only credible tips be passed along. Yeah, that's always helpful because they've gotten a lot of crazy stuff through the last 2 years. So again, this here on the right is the age progressed photo that NCMEC has been able to come up with, as if Summer would have been just over 7 years old today. All right, so 3 days ago, Don and Tim, and for those that don't know, Tim, he is the Wells quote-unquote media manager. Okay, and so this is from the Don Wells Family Official YouTube channel. It looks like a stream on June 10th where Don and Tim talk about these past 2 years. And so I'm going to kind of go through it and let's see what they had to say. This would be the most current thoughts and what have you of Don Wells.
You know, there's been one thing we've noticed these 2 years is the volume of individuals who have had either similar type of situations like this, or they've lost someone that was so close to them. And they seem to reach out a lot. Emails, messages, texts, mail itself. What's your thoughts on how summer seems to touch hearts in those ways?
There's a lot of good people out there, and I'm very thankful for that. And I don't know, a lot of times, you know, as you know, Tim, I talk to you a lot, that I'm just completely overwhelmed, don't know what I'm gonna do, and I just feel like I'm at the end of my ropes. But it seems somehow God always pulls through, and my friends that I do have that support us come through, and somehow we manage, you know. But sometimes it just seems so overwhelming that just don't know, you know, it seems impossible at times, but I know just to keep hanging in there and keep staying on the straight and narrow path best I can. I'm not perfect, of course, but I don't know.
You know, Don, just having come through.
Yeah, that was some interesting philosophical thoughts from Don. I would go a little more into that one, but I'm going to kind of leave that one alone. And then we're going to have Tim start to go into his own losses. Now, granted, I'm a kind person. I'm a you know, and I feel for the victims, because that's what I do here on the channel. Is I'm here for the victims. Okay, I'm here for Summer. I'm here for Summer Wells. So it's just hard for me when they seem to talk about any and everything but Summer Wells. It's hard sometimes.
You know, a few days ago, my dad, who I was very close to, crossing over.
Right.
The intensity of the grief, where you can only wail, almost groan. And I was thinking during that about what you, Candace, your sons, were feeling 2 years ago when this happened. And
thank you. Yeah, for sure. And I know you desperately miss him. I know you can see the pain in your mother's eyes. And
well, yeah, thank you. You know, my thought was thinking back on the 2 years, kind of role playing as if I was you. And all of a sudden, all this occurs, and nighttime comes, and the fear, the grief, the anxiety, the unknown that was hitting you. When I was sitting there, I was sitting on the deck and, you know, very teary eyed. And this struck me. If all I had, the only hope I had was to somehow talk about my daughter. If I was you, I totally understood at a different level why you hit YouTube, why you went to YouTube.
right.
That desperation to be doing something during such intense grief and fear and everything else that all was coming in the same package to your mind, to your heart.
That would be great, Tim. But typically, Don and Candace haven't gone to YouTube to talk about Summer. Don has been a little more vocal about Summer. Candace doesn't ever want to talk about Summer. She said recently on another channel, she's not there to talk about Summer. Well, Candace, what are you here to talk about if not for your missing, disappeared, got gone daughter? Because that's what you should be talking about on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, TikTok, wherever you place yourself online or out in public. That's what you should be doing, is searching for and advocating for your beautiful daughter. A lot of your YouTube time has just not been looking for Summer or finding out what happened to Summer on June 15th of 2021.
So it just made it very real to me. And those days were...
that first couple weeks, I just felt as though she was, I was the fear. Yeah, exactly. It's like, what is going on with her? I just know she wants to come home, and I didn't know what the police were doing. I just felt I wanted to do anything I possibly could to try to help her. And you're so desperate to try to help
You're so desperate to try to help her, yet you don't go out. You don't put out flyers. You don't go out with the searchers, Don. None of you did any of this stuff. You didn't do boots on the ground. You haven't gone around and said, we are looking for our 5-year-old child. You didn't do that. You just didn't. I don't feel you did that barely at all. It's sad. It truly is.
Someone in that situation, you'll do anything. You'll lose your mind. You'll do absolutely anything. But yeah, so I thought social media was the only thing I could do. That was the only thing that I could think of that I could possibly do.
And social media is great, Don. It's an amazing resource. You have thousands of followers here on your YouTube channel and followers on Facebook and people watching what you and Candace and Grandis and the rest of the family do. You have the world's attention. And what do you do with it? You don't tell people, hey, we need to find Summer. There was lots of drinking, lots of crazy nights on YouTube at crazy hours, this, that, and the other thing. And you got Candace more recently going out and playing games at the convenience store, I guess Coin Pusher, all these other things, asking people for money, but you're not putting it toward bringing your daughter home, finding Summer Wells. None of that was used for that. None of it. It was a resource that you've had right there, and you've done nothing really with it. Sad.
Yeah, but anyways.
True, absolutely. I mean, when you can't do anything, but this is your daughter, desperate times. I mean, I know I saw you out searching. I passed you with my car. I remember one time when you were searching up toward the mountain area, and we stopped and talked, and we didn't know each other very well then, but we did know each other, and just sensing that intense desperation. And then looking to my left and to my right, and there's sheds and there's homes and there's buildings up in the woods. And it's like, where do you look?
Really, Tim? Did Don seriously get out there? Because that's not what I've heard. Please correct me if I'm wrong that he's done much. I know there was a video not too long ago that he did go out a little bit, but was he out there with the searchers from day one? Going out there arm to arm, elbow to elbow with them, looking for Summer? Because I don't think that happened. Again, if I'm wrong and there's evidence to this, I will gladly apologize for that. But I don't think that they did that. Immediately, as soon as he heard from Candace Summer was gone, they all said, up, she was taken, she was abducted, she wouldn't just wander away. Someone took her. And immediately, the family goes right to, someone took her from her home and is hurting her. Someone took her from her home and is hurting her. And then not long after that, you go on national television, well, local television that became national, and you say, oh, well, I have hope, but I'll see her in the resurrection. I do believe, Don, that you love Summer. I don't doubt that at all from you at all. But I just feel like there's been so many lost opportunities that haven't been taken. And like I said, this is now 2 years. 2 years.
Yeah. It's impossible to search everywhere. I mean, if we lived on a small island somewhere, I mean, I suppose it could be possible, but she could be anywhere in this world at this point. It's easy to get out of the country.
Well, that was part, none of us knew the sorts of things that were happening at that time, except in your case, she was missing. In our case, we were listening to it on the news. It was a story. It was touching our hearts. But then as time went on and we began to understand just the human trafficking based, to my understanding, headquartered pretty heavily out of Atlanta. And in this area, Tennessee watches it very close. And you begin to learn those things. There's a whole greater intensity of emotion that even comes with that. And that's just one of the categories. I know that you
that's just one of the categories. Then we had the social media category that split into several other categories, like the psychics, we had the police constantly surrounding us, constantly questioning us. I felt at the time when we was doing the lie detector test, I wanted to be out searching and doing everything I could, but I had to comply. And, I knew the best thing to do was just to comply with whatever they wanted,
Oh yeah, because you're already trapped in a nightmare that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Why do we keep going to the T possibility? I can't say that on YouTube. I can't say that in the R word and all that sort of stuff. But immediately, that's what we jump to. Granted, yeah, it's a possibility. Sure. But I don't believe, again, 2 years later, 2 years ago, I would have believed about anything. Of course, and still there's a lot on the table, but I would have believed it potentially, but I don't believe abduction or wandering off. I think that we can cross those off the list at this point. I just don't think that's what's going on.
I mean, the smart thing would have been not to talk to the police, to tell them we're not doing anything and not to talk to them at all, probably. But I felt like I wanted to comply with them completely. And
Wait a minute, not talk to the police at all? Yeah, because that wouldn't have put more suspicion on you. Yeah, y'all talked to the police at the beginning. Y'all did this and that, but Don, you haven't been as open and as cooperative as you and Candace could have been. You just haven't.
Uh, I think Ronnie Lawson got confused. We had two separate cases going, really. We had the case with our boys at one point, and then we had the case with Summer. So when we had got lawyers, our lawyers told us to basically not talk to the police no more because of our kids. Not because of Summer's case, but for our kids. But we chose to go ahead and talk to the police anyway, against the advice of our lawyers. So I think this is where Ronnie Lawson got confused, because we did lawyer up for our kids, and they did tell us not to talk to the police, but we still chose to talk to the police for the sake of Summer.
Don, the case with the boys, yeah, it's a Child Protective Services, CP, Department of Children's Services situation, but that came out of Summer's disappearance. So it's all related. It's like a chain of events. It's all related.
Lawson took it is we lawyered up, but we did for the boys, but we wasn't lawyering up for the case of Summer, no. And I think it was just some confusion there, and because I continued to talk to the police, and as much as I possibly could, try to help them any way I possibly could. So Ronnie Lawson's not at fault there. It was a mistake.
And I just want to jump to the last part here. There's a lot more they were talking about. Again, I post a link to their channel in case you want to listen to it in its entirety. But this part's a little strange to me. Don talking about how God told him something was going to happen to Summer.
So when I said before, that I believe God told me that something was going to happen to Summer, and I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know what to think about it, and I wasn't sure. And I asked Candace just to keep a very close eye on her, because something's telling me that something might happen or something's going to happen to Summer. So that wasn't from Satan, because it proved to happen. It proved true. What was the question again, Tim? Sorry.
That's a good way.
Okay. But
what I asked, but you've given a better answer. Really, you're sharing something that's extremely important. And let me see just for a moment here if we can do this. If I recall, this picture right here.
Yeah, that picture right there in that moment, and I don't know why. I was told without words, but I knew the time was short, and I actually had tears in my eyes, and I don't know why, but Candace took a picture at that time, and that's probably the last picture that we got of her. And I know a lot of people are going to say a lot of bad things about this, and that's okay, because there's those out there who believe in us and believe in God, and that's great. But yeah, I knew the time was short, and it probably wasn't a couple weeks after this picture that she was abducted.
That picture's knowing.
So that brings back up the probability of not an abduction, but something to do with drugs or a debt. Again, I'm not saying that that's what happened. just a thought. It's circled around. I still don't believe that's what happened either, but it's real interesting how he's speaking about it, isn't it? It's very interesting.
That picture has always been pretty overwhelming for me to look at.
Yeah, she was asleep, and I was just kind of rocking her back and forth, and but yeah, but yeah, God knows the future. He knows everything, and He has all power. He deserves all power because He's righteous and He's just.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you on that, Don. I completely agree with you. God knows everything. He knows all. He knows exactly what happened on June 15th, 2021. He knows.
You were asked in an interview the other day if you had hope of seeing summer.
Oh, that's what the question was.
Could you explain your heart? Share your heart, please.
Well, yeah, I definitely have hope of seeing her sooner or later. I don't know exactly what God's got planned. I know, what I was like basically told without words, and I know of some of the dreams that I've had, and the one in particular that was so vivid that I've never had a dream like it before. That I don't know, it just seemed like God was giving me a goal, and if I stick with that goal, I will see her again.
And I also want to jump real quick back to Don's first interview after he was released from jail. And he did it with WJHL and with Ansley. Let me play it so you guys can check it out.
It's been almost a year and a half since Summer Wells went missing from her home in the Beech Creek community of Hawkins County.
We have to prepare ourselves for a worst case scenario. We could always hope for a good scenario, but it can't be good because no matter what situation she's in, she's lost her freedom. Even if she's alive, she's lost her freedom. She can't be seen in public.
About a month after she was reported missing, her 3 older brothers were placed into DCS custody.
We really want our boys back home. If Summer was to be found today, we wouldn't be able to see her or talk to her, and we can't talk to our boys.
Were they in touch with Candace while you were in jail?
Yes. Yeah.
But did something change when you got out of jail?
The only thing that changed is suddenly we weren't allowed to contact them at all.
Wells spent a little more than 8 months in the Hawkins County Jail for pleading guilty to a DUI charge.
One of the guards gave me a copy of the New Living Translation Bible, so I found that to be about the best book there was. So I read it several times because that's all there really was to do. And I was in 23-hour lockdown, so for my safety, they say.
And since he was released from jail, Wells says it's been a challenge to gain custody back.
They're doing nothing to help us. In fact, they're making us jump through all kinds of hoops, which is almost impossible to jump through all of them and hold a job and do all these things. They're making it real tough on us.
Wells told us he has been in touch with investigators over Summer's case.
There's not one shred of evidence. There's nothing. As much as they've looked, and as much as the work of this they've done, they haven't been able to come up with anything at all.
His wife, Summer's mother, Candace, has also been in and out of the hospital.
Candace has been in the emergency room 4 times for heart problems, and we're looking at eventually doing a major surgery, hopefully to correct the problem with her heart. But she's doing better, I think. But all this stress and stuff, it's not helping at all, I don't think, for sure.
This weekend marks Summer's 7th birthday.
It's just another day without her. I mean, I don't really want to celebrate her birthday without her.
A time where he will wonder what she would be like as a 7-year-old.
She was definitely going to be tall. She'd probably be as tall as me, I'd say, because she was growing so fast. And I'm sure she would be the same person. And she didn't have no qualms about taking on her brothers, that's for sure. She didn't hesitate to put them in their place real quick.
So again, I'm showing the age progression photo that TBI came out with a photo of Summer from about the time she was last seen in 2021. I do think the age progression photo, she looks a bit older than she would look if she was 7 or 8. But like they said, it's not a complete, good science, but gives you some ideas, and they have the eyes, and I think are pretty good. But the bottom line on this one, guys, is again, I want Summer Wells found, and I would like to see justice for her if something has happened to her. It's all about Summer Wells, and that's what it's always been about. And she was my first case here on the channel. And just like Monkey, little Michael Vaughn, I have a place in my heart for her. I want to see her found. Granted, I would love to see all these missings found and well and able to return back to their loved ones and their families, but as we know, that doesn't happen a lot, but at the least, I just want to see closure. And if something happened to her, if it's at someone's hand, which as far as I'm concerned it would be, I want justice for little Summer. So we are still out here seeking to find Summer Wells. That's always been the goal, and I won't give up until she's found.